フルアニメーションゲームマシン PC-FX.
The game is FX.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica, our continuing series on the NEC PC-FX, and today we're taking a look at what is objectively the best game on the system, and that is Zenki. It has a much longer Japanese title, and I would totally mangle that, so I'm just going to call it Zenki or Zenki FX for the rest of the video. But this is definitely one of the best games on the platform, and I would say this would have been one of the best games on any platform had it come out on something like PlayStation 1 or Saturn. Before we get too far involved though, while you watch the FMV intro, if you do me a huge favor, go down below and hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps me out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down there as well. But I do love all these FMV intros, even if it makes it impossible to play these games on a CDR with the PC-FX because they just love to skip. But when you actually get to the gameplay itself, this is an absolutely beautiful looking beat 'em up. I love the graphics from start to finish in this game. It has a ton of personality. Now I will say, this is the best game for the system, but if for some reason you do want to buy a PC-FX and grab a copy of it, you are going to pay dearly. I cannot recommend actually buying this game. I found one copy for sale in Japan, and it was going for about the equivalent of 2,000 American dollars. This game is not worth that. No game really is worth it outside of a few rare Neo Geo releases, but that's just my opinion. But if you do burn this game, outside of not being able to really watch the FMV intros because they skip, you can play the game from start to finish, and it is absolutely outstanding. And if you use something like Meddefen, you can emulate this game with the FMVs, and it's going to work perfectly fine for you. But I am playing this all on original hardware. But why I love Zenki so much is just the artwork and the graphics and the environments. The beat-em-up mechanics are definitely competent, and we will touch on more of the gameplay in and of itself. But I love everything that this game's doing, and I do not know anything about Zenki. I'm not a huge anime fan, so I'm approaching this game from a gameplay standpoint and not so much a fan of the series. But this looks like if the Super Nintendo had an upgrade, if the Super Nintendo CD with the PlayStation attachment came out and that had somehow increased the graphical fidelity of what it was possible to do, I feel like this is what it would have been. Because the PC-FX, when it's used well, the artwork, the parallax scrolling, the sound, the music, they're all outstanding. And unfortunately, as a platform, it didn't really get utilized that often for the things that it was actually strong at. If you think about the Sega Saturn before Sega added the 3D chips because they wanted a 2D powerhouse console, that is what the PC-FX is. And if more games like Zenki had been developed for it, I think it would have been an absolute hit in Japan. Now, of course, NEC decided to put a lot of anime FMV games on the console, so unfortunately, it didn't become a hit. It became a huge failure. But this boss fight right here, I love the sprites. There's so many frames of animation in them. I love the color work. When you get your special attack here and that dragon goes across the screen, there is so much love and attention put into this game that you can't help but like it. And there is a lot of story as well. Of course, it's all in Japanese, so if you speak it, you're going to get a lot of it, and if you don't, you'll just kind of infer what's going on. But I love these little intercuts of the face with his skin just dripping off after he's been defeated, and you get real-time voice work. It's a ton of effort into the game, and I like as it goes further on, he just melts down to a skeleton, and for some reason you pick up the boss's eyes. I'm sure you find out in the story why that is, but in this instance, I just don't know. But that's the fun thing about Zenki, is it's a game you've probably never played, and I'm assuming most of you have never heard of. And when you think of the PC-FX, people say it's a terrible console, there's nothing to play on it. This is definitely worth playing. I used to have a PC-FX and I sold it years ago because I just didn't play it that much. And one of the reasons I'm doing this series is I wanted to play Zenki again on original hardware. That's how much I enjoy this game. Now I will say, and I don't mind it too much, but maybe you will, there's a lot of downtime in the game where you're getting story and FMV elements. And like I said, it's not the longest game. You can beat Zenki in about 35 minutes from start to finish with one character. That's another reason why I don't recommend spending $2,000 on a copy of it, because per minute you're paying probably, close to $10, $15 to actually play the game. As we fight this boss here and we go through the clouds, there's so many really interesting 2D effects that the PC-FX is actually capable of pulling off. And you'll see here that there is some incorporated FMV 3D elements as well. It kind of has the same feel of some of the 3D games on the Sega CD that had, those full motion backgrounds incorporated in with the 2D sprites. And you'll see as the plane comes down here, it goes through the background, and God, that looks great. I love the appearance of that. It kind of has that Donkey Kong Country pre-rendered, sprite 3D work going on, but whatever technology is behind it, it's absolutely great to look at. But right here is one of the favorite reasons that I love this game. This train stage with these skeletons that get up and fight you, the ambiance, the atmosphere, everything that's going on in this particular portion of the game, I just absolutely love. I wish I knew why there were skeletons popping up. I don't know why they're not wearing their pants, just their suit jackets for the men, but I love how it looks, I love how it sounds, and it's just telling a story, including a sad story. Here you'll see the woman on the right, the skeleton, looks like she's holding a skeleton baby wrapped up in a cloth. So whatever happened here, there's a lot of environmental storytelling, and a lot of it is quite sad if you take a look at it and step back. But now you'll see here we have, I don't know the character, I'm going to just call him Death because he looks like Death from Castlevania, but it's got great transparencies, the effects that it can pull off. It's doing a better job of transparencies than something like the PlayStation 1 in my opinion, or definitely the Saturn. I would say that's fact. And it's just here you go into the dining cart and you have skeleton chefs and fat skeleton diners just sitting there waiting and hanging out. What I'm going to let you do is just listen to a little bit of this next stage. I love the dialogue and I'll be right back.
よくここまで来れたね。どうだい？僕の超能力の味は。あなたがあいつらを操っていたとか。
どれだけ待ちわびたことか。
今こそ千年
の雪辱を晴らすとき、覚悟しろ。
You just can't go wrong with those audio dialogue lines and how the skeleton's face, calling him Death still, goes over the wheelchair boy's face and basically takes him over. And the sprite work again is absolutely outstanding, and it reminds me a lot of Rondo of Blood in some strange ways, just kind of how things animate and sound. But this game is a little bit of a boss rush for sure. You're going to be fighting a lot of bosses in between regular stages. What I like is that the game gives you breathing room to get some story, to check out what's going on in the world. It's not action-packed from start to finish, because every time you either fight a boss or beat a boss, you're going to get some story elements. But everything is very cohesive. As you transfer from one stage to the other, you get this great cityscape parallax effect in the background, but all the levels lead into the next level. You're going underground here, and then we're going to very quickly, spoiler alert, crash this train and end up in these sewers. But I really like how they thought about how this world works and how you continue to progress through the storyline of Zenki, seeing different things and what's going on. And I do wish that this game had been translated. Maybe it will be one day, because there are a few decent translations for the PC-FX, so we'll definitely be talking about some of those on this series moving forward. But this is one game that I really wish would get a full translation, because we'd be better able to understand what's going on. But even as these mermen here kind of fade away and goo to their death, that's definitely feeling like mermen from Castlevania as well. So I think there's a lot of inspiration that Hudson Soft took when they made this game. But you'll see here we have some flying enemies coming in as well. You have some decent special moves, and the game's actually very nice to you. If you don't turn on mode B for the top 3 buttons on the PC-FX controller, you have to input those special moves with basically Street Fighter style controls. If you turn mode B on, you can then execute them with a 1-button push. So it's really a nice and fair way to kind of play the game. And I just love that. That car turns into a giant half car, half monster beast. It's like someone's been watching Beastbusters or Beastbusters Second Nightmare and decided to kind of crib that for their own game. But as we move further here from that garage, we're now into an office building, and we're fighting these same kind of gooey looking monsters. But even the painting in the background, as we pass by it, you're going to see something really interesting going on, and that is the face melts into a skeleton. It's the tiniest little detail, but it just goes to show how much fun the developers must have had when they made this game, and it really goes to show what the PC-FX was capable of. Because even this animation here as the boss comes out of that stone cross, there's so many frames, it's so fluid. Had NEC and Hudson Soft just focused on games like this and not made a bunch of anime FMV games, I think the PC-FX would be something that a lot of people have on their shelves and collect for. At least we did get things like Zenki though, so we're able to kind of see what really is going on with the system. But since I have talked a bunch and I haven't really given you a chance to listen to much about what's going on, after we get out of this elevator here leading us up to the next stage, I'll give you about 30 to 45 seconds to listen to the soundtrack, as it is quite good, and I'll be right back. And our friend, the half monster, half truck, has now cut that bridge. And this is what I really love about Zenki, is it does change up the gameplay ever so slightly. Sometimes it feels like a boss rush, sometimes it feels like a beat 'em up, and sometimes it feels like an action platformer. But they do give you just enough to do in each stage so that right when you want to do something different, the game is definitely going to give that to you. Now, if there is one regret I have for Zenki, there's actually two, but only one was in the game developer's control, is this game does not take long at all to beat. You can beat it in 35 minutes, start to finish, and then walk away from it. I wish this game was so much longer because I enjoy playing it that much. The sprites are huge, the animations are great, I love the colors, I love the music. I just want more of this game, and unfortunately, you just don't get that with the PC-FX. Of course, you can play as Zenki, coming in right here, but nothing really changes. There's no extra levels, there's no extra content. It's just the same game with a different character. And that leads into the second regret, is definitely would wish I could own this game, but I'm not paying $2,000 for the length of it. I don't think I'd pay a quarter of that, so unfortunately for me it is just a CDR, and I do wish that collecting for the PC Engine was a little bit easier. But I love that our friend here is still not done. He's now walking towards us, kind of like a crab with rebar and cement and girders in his back. Whoever was coming up with the enemy designs for this game was quite creative. And even his death is amazing. You're going to see right here, we're going to be pushed into a crusher, and then we're going to have to battle him one last time to get through. But go ahead and listen to this last like 20 seconds of audio because it's an awesome song, and I don't want to leave you guys short on audio, and I'll be right back. Even if I have no idea what they're saying, I do love that song. But yeah, that's Zenki on the PC-FX. If you've never played this game before, just get an emulator and play it. If you like beat 'em ups, if you like really stylish 2D games, this game is amazing. I mean, look how gigantic this frog sprite is on screen. It's huge. Short of that, if you could do me a huge favor, go down below and hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out. I will be back next week with another episode in the PC-FX series. It's been a lot of fun to talk about what we've talked about so far, and I'm going to continue to show you guys why the PC-FX isn't a complete failure. Short of that, thanks so much for watching, guys. If you have any questions or comments, so leave them down below. Love chatting, and I'll see you next time. I want to have videos for the rest of the week as well. Bye-bye.